run some tunes. All right. Well, good morning today. Actually, today is just ridiculous because I've got three people here that are about to head off on the adventure of a lifetime. So I'd like to start by introducing. So we've got Tim Franklin, and you can probably figure out who that is by process of elimination. He describes himself as a regular bloke hailing from Brisbane. So, mate, hometown. His mission is to break the current world record of running around the world in 434 days, which was set back in 2017. Now, the total distance, and again, I'm still trying to get my head around this because this is madness, it is 26,232 kilometres, and his plans to knock it over in 433 days because the last record was 434. He's got to knock over more than 63 kilometres a day, going to be crossing 23 countries over 5 continents. So in here as well, I have Chelsea and Liz, who are his support crew, because as you could imagine, there's some complexities with trying to run around the world, like keeping yourself going, as well as, some of the basic logistical challenges. So today we're going to find out a little bit about why on earth Tim wants to run around the world, why Chelsea and Liz have packed up their entire lives to support him running around the world. We're going to find out how all this happened. So good morning, guys. Thank you. Welcome.
Morning. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I'm so delighted to have you guys here. When I met you this morning, I mentioned that I think you're all out of your minds, which is fantastic. I'll be honest, that's actually a compliment. Like I really dig that. I love a bit of madness. Tim, I'll start with you because, your circus, you're the man that's actually got to, pound the pavement, knock out 63 kilometres a day. Mate, you don't just wake up and decide to run around the world. Take me back. You weren't always a ultra marathon runner, were you, mate?
No, I was arguably the complete opposite. Just a fit, active kid, played all the sports at home, on the street, usually mum putting her head out the window, calling us in because dinner's ready. And that was my life, a lot of cricket, a lot of rugby, until I was about 13, 14. And then my body started to fail me a little bit. Just had a few growing pains just through puberty. My body just didn't handle it all too well. So I just had a lot of pain. I had significant scoliosis, which caused a lot of pain. I have Osgood Schlatters in both knees, which is like a tendon growing at a different rate to the bones. And then I have a significant leg difference as well. So that really hurt me and just put a handbrake on any sort of movement without pain. So I just stopped, to be honest. I became sedentary. And then that endorphin release you get from exercise, I found in food. And I found in unhealthy foods and overeating. And so I just basically became sedentary more and more unhealthy. I still love sport. I just wasn't participating in it as I was as a kid and really put on some significant weight in like 3 or 4 years, late high school, and then obviously early into my uni days. But I always loved movement and stuff like that. So I made a decision when I was in my early to mid 20s that I've got to get fit again. I went for a run, and it was the hardest thing I ever did. I ran 2.2 kilometers, felt like I was going to perish, and haven't really stopped then. So that was about 2004.
Now, I feel like we've glossed over a few points here because obviously there's a lot to jam into that. So understandably, if you've had, a few physical challenges, makes sense that that's all become difficult. And I can understand how you'd sort of let that slide. Uni, not the best place to sort of, get into a healthy eating regime. Had you sort of finished uni when you started this? Were you working?
Yeah, I probably had finished uni. I sort of gave myself a little bit of a challenge at uni to start to get fit. But when you're in that, like you say, I'm surrounded by, partying and recreational substances that one probably shouldn't do. And like I've got a great group of mates, but every time a decision, had to be made, the zig or zag, we probably zagged when we should have zigged, and got ourselves in, more and more like health trouble, I suppose. But my real journey started probably just after uni. So I was working as a solicitor at the time. So I finished law degree and started working. And then, yeah, had a bit of a light bulb moment. I was actually read an article. I was working on an insurance claim, and I read an article that had where the mother had lost her child in a car accident, and the mother had said the hardest thing a parent has to do is bury their own child. And then I was like, well, everything that my parents had done for me, you know, the valuing roof over my head, clothes on my back, food on the table, education, and I was just sort of arguably spitting it back in their face and disrespecting them. So that was probably a moment in time that I look back and go, shit, Tim, let's make a change. Let's make a change for the healthier. And geez, I'm glad I did.
And Tim, you've done a lot of running over the years. We've figured that out, but you've sort of gained some notoriety when we all got locked into our homes. That seems to be because, you know, as I've searched for you on the internet and I've done a bit of research trying to find out who is Tim Franklin. And you've got to search Tim Franklin Brisbane, I've noticed, because there is another Tim Franklin hogging some of your limelight. So we've got to work on that. You need a Wikipedia page.
You need an SEO assistant.
Mate, we've got to do that up for you. Now, you were locked in like the rest of us. I was drinking beers, smoking meats. I also discovered that if you get like a block of Philadelphia cream cheese and put it in your smoker, sweet baby Jesus. Oh, mate.
Delicious.
Like it is, I'm just there. And I remember taking a photo of it and I'm like, this lockdown, fat is what I'm getting. So I decided to get fat. You decided to run a marathon in your apartment? Mate, how bored were you?
Yeah. I lived by myself at the time. so I was going slowly, probably insane like a lot of us. But the origin of that is a very good friend of mine. She messaged me that a gentleman in France had run a marathon in his apartment. And I was like, I might as well give it a go, see if I can beat his record. So I did. I completed 2,000 laps of a 21-meter circuit in my little West End two-better, and had the world record for the fastest in-apartment marathon for all of 24 hours. I got rolled the next day by some bloke in Sydney. So I didn't have it for too long, but yeah, it's 6 hours and 45 minutes, I think it took. And the sort of the premise for that was, I don't know, a little bit of entertainment for people, something fun. You know, I'm lucky enough to coach a triathlon squad of adults and work with the young girls up at Brisbane Girls Grammar as a running coach up there. So just a little, not inspiration, but just, you know, take their minds off how everything had stopped and just, you know, say there's no excuses and you actually can keep moving.
Well, there is. I can't be asked. And do you know how good smoked cheese is? But you decided that running a marathon in your apartment wasn't enough. How did you come up with the next challenge you entertained yourself with?
Yes, so the next challenge, and I think you're referring to the Everesting.
I am referring to Everesting. I can tell you not once in my whole life have I gone, what should I do this weekend? Tell us the story, Tim.
And neither had I until that point. A friend of mine that I'd met in another ultra marathon that I'd done was from the UK. And there was a gentleman in the UK that was going to run the stairs in his, I think he had 7 stairs in his apartment in London. So they had a lot stricter lockdown obviously than we did through COVID. And he ran Everest on a 7-step staircase. And I said, well, whilst you're doing that in the UK, I'll do it in Brisbane. So we started simultaneously. So I think it was 2 p.m. here and he was 6 a.m. In London. And we were FaceTiming and Skyping whilst we were doing it. And I, in my apartment, it was 8 levels and I completed that 161 times up and down for the equivalent of climbing. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was just from base camp to Everest. So it was like 3,500 meters of elevation gain, but it was, that hurt me. That one hurt me a lot.
I'm so glad I wasn't your roommate. You'd be like, come on, Chief, just get in here. No.
Or my neighbours with constant up and down the stairs. So.
Did you get a few complaints?
I didn't actually. No. I didn't. They were all like, it's the running guy. After they like I'd been on Sunrise or something like that. They're like, it's the running guy.
The running man.
And that's what I was known as. In the apartment block.
Punching up and down. Because, and I did notice, the airflow in a stairwell
non-existent.
Yeah, not
Mm.
great.
Especially a fire escape. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was ugly business. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
unpleasant.
yeah. And the running down the stairs, because that didn't count for anything. I just had to get down. So running down the stairs, that's what really.
Does your building not have a lift? I mean, come on, mate.
It did. I just felt like that was cheating because the bloke in the UK had to do it on the 7 stairs. He had to walk down the stairs. So I thought if he has to walk down that, I've got to walk down mine.
Oh, this story keeps getting worse.
Crazy.
All right. So before we jump into your around the world trip, I'd like to talk to your support crew. So look, we know Tim's out of his mind. Have either of you run a marathon or climbed Everest or just any,
I've run 10K.
you run 10K once? One
Twice,
time?
yes.
Twice.
Yeah, same. That's the longest distance I've ever exerted myself for. 10 kilometers.
Okay. So you guys are not part of Tim's triathlon squad, not part of his ultra marathon squad,
Nope.
I'm guessing, because you've only done it twice.
Yeah.
None of this makes sense. How did you two end up? Now, I've been following your Instagram stories. You guys have quit your jobs.
Yes.
You have emptied your homes, like got rid of everything. I was killing myself laughing this morning, sleeping on a mattress on the floor. Like you've literally packed up your whole
Yep.
lives
Mhm.
to do this.
Correct.
How on earth did we get here?
Well, I guess we both met Tim at the gym at Fitstop. And Tim was always like kind of the class clown, kind of
The
just,
larrikin.
yeah, having fun, just
Loves to flex a bicep.
yeah,
If
staring
you've
himself
got
in the
it, you
mirror.
flaunt it. I mean, that's what they
Fair
always
enough.
say, don't they?
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking about goals one day, and my goal, and this is going to sound so insignificant compared to what Tim's doing, but I was terrified of running back in the day, and my goal was to run 1 kilometer under 5 minutes. And Tim was talking me through this goal. And then I turned to him and I was like, well, what's your goal? And he was like, oh, well, I want to run around the world. And I just went, you're bloody kidding me. Like, that's impossible. I literally walked away from that conversation thinking,
There's no way.
Well,
He's insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then we're at the Christmas party.
So this is the gym Christmas
The
party?
gym Christmas party.
Yep.
After
Couple of wines.
a
Few
couple of
shandies.
couple of
Couple.
beverages.
Yep.
Tim was talking to us about his adventure, and he's like, "Oh, I need people to come with me. Like, I'm trying to find a crew." And Chelsea and I looked at each other, looked back at Tim, put our hands up, and
Why
we just
not?
went, "We could do that." And Tim was like, "Okay." So then that was the end of the conversation. And then the next day, Chelsea and I were driving to the beach, and I was like,
I wonder if Tim remembers that conversation.
yeah, should
from
we
last
just
night.
message him and see what the go is? So we messaged Tim, was like, look, we're keen. We just want some more information. And Tim was like, let's do it. A week later, we met up.
Sat down, like, this is my plan.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, let's make it happen.
And how long ago was this?
Oh, January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
December, January.
Yeah.
So like only
Just
10
got-
months ago,
Yeah.
you decided that you didn't have anything on for a year and a half.
What else do we need to do?
And you're like, yeah, look, I've checked my schedule. It's looking pretty empty. I might just pack my life up.
Basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And a little bit of background from you guys. Do you want to share your professions and how that might help, Tim?
We are both nurses that work in a major hospital or worked in a major hospital. So we have that nursing and medical background. So we're going to bring that strength to this trip, and we're going to look after Tim in that respect, as well as everything else in terms of logistics and organization. And
Just keeping the machine running.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hopefully, if
'Cause
he
why not-
listens to us.
One of my big questions, and I mean, aside from like, I can't even keep up with the logistics of this, like,
Mm.
you know, the shoes, the physical fitness, the clothes, the washing, the, you know,
Yeah.
but then I was just like laying there thinking like how much food he would have to eat. And I watched an interview where I saw you burning like 7,000 calories
Yeah.
a day.
Yep.
I'm like, mate, you're going to need to eat like 6 buckets of KFC a day,
Yep.
like just to nail the calories.
Yep.
Are you guys helping him like manage his food plan?
Yeah. Yep. So we'll probably be in charge of organizing when Tim eats and what
Yeah.
he eats. So then when he arrives at his first stop or second stop or whatever, we can have
That ready.
something prepared already, or we're at a place where he can get something
Yeah.
substantial to keep him going. If it was up to Tim, he'd be eating a pizza every night for dinner.
Yeah, or a pub meal.
But I think
I was like, yeah,
I think we've convinced him to steer away from that.
because you can't stop for a sausage roll and an ice break.
Well,
Well,
I
yeah,
think Tim's
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
try. I think Tim's
Yeah.
gonna try.
like I've trained my body to eat all sorts of all sorts of food at any time, and then be able to run on a full stomach, on an upset stomach. That's just part of what
yeah.
I've had to do. But hopefully, if it's me, that's what I'm doing. But hopefully, with these girls, and I think they sell themselves short about their.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
So, Tim, do you want to, since the girls are so modest, do you want to throw some big ups to how they're actually helping
Jeez.
put this
Oh,
together?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Can-
well,
can-
first of all, I
We've got
think
this recorded, right?
Yeah. Oh, mate, this is we can reuse
Just so we
this.
can play it back to Tim.
first of all, I think they undersell their athletic prowess
Right.
somewhat. In the gym, they hand my ass to me when we have to lift something with these things. So they're that side of things is one thing, and yeah, it's not an easy decision, obviously, to walk away for 12 months. I mean, I've always said that 12 months is such a small period of time in one's life. Let's go and do it, but that takes some guts, right, to walk away, and some courage to do so. And no doubt there's been ups and there's been some downs across the 12 months. It has not been by any chance just smooth sailing between the three of us, only because it is so humongous. But yet we're here, we're bloody 8 days away, and I think that we're humming as much as we've sort of hummed as a threesome.
Don't say that word.
Yeah,
That's our OnlyFans account.
You can't say that. People are going to get the wrong idea.
Hummed.
Just going to leave that one quite
Yeah,
alone.
let's not go into that.
Leave that in the smoker.
Oh. So, Chelsea and Liz, what did your families say when you told them what you were going to do?
Oh, I think my parents were a little taken back. I don't think they really believed it at first. I think they thought I was just making it up just for something to do. And then as we started nutting out the details, they were like, oh, okay, so this might actually happen. And then as they've helped me pack my house, they're like, oh no, bye, good luck. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully. They're quite supportive.
Yeah.
And they obviously want to see us succeed. And they want to see
Just
Tim succeed. So
Generally shocked.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
Because what about yourself?
yeah.
Oh, I think because I've always loved to travel.
Yeah.
That's like been one of my things that I've always enjoyed doing. So I think they were excited for me in that respect. Like the feat of it all, like, wow, you're traveling around the world, you're going to see so many places. They're really excited. But then when you kind of get into the details about what Tim's doing, what we're going to have to do, there's a lot of, I don't like to say the word doubt, but there's a lot of concern surrounding it, which I think is normal for anyone,
Absolutely.
about not only Tim's welfare, but our welfare, considering we're two young females traveling probably majority of the day alone without Tim while he's out jogging.
Gallivanting.
So I think concern for safety was also big on their list. But I think once they see us out there and we're documenting everything on social media and trying to keep in contact with them as much as we can, I think that worry will kind of subside. And
Seems like a fairly normal parental concern.
yeah,
You what?
yeah.
Exactly.
Because,
Exactly.
there's a backpacking through Europe trip, which is probably reasonably predictable and,
Yeah.
probably has a,
Mm.
whereas this is just something else entirely. And it sort of leads me to ask the question, collectively, because I can't even figure out what would be the worst problem. What are you guys most concerned about, as you sort of lay things out and consider what you've got ahead of you?
Oh God. Probably one of the main concern for me is the unpredictability of the day-to-day. Like the logistics behind it is a major concern for me personally. Just having to organise. If you know me personally, I'm like type A needs, I don't go with the flow very well. Like I need a plan, a place.
Really?
Great trip.
Really?
Great trip
a
ahead.
plan, a place, a time. I need and I'm usually the one organising as well. So I need to have everything in place, and to have that kind of taken away from me, it's giving me much anxiety.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that's probably caused the most anxiety between us.
Yeah.
Because I'm the opposite to
Yeah.
that. I'm like I go, I've just every day, no matter what happens, we always, when we have an issue here, we get to the end of the day and whatever happened is either not resolved, but we're still kicking and we'll worry about it tomorrow. And that's how I sort of live everything. And no doubt there's stress involved in that way, but it's very different to how these two operate, which I think is really good for me because I get some of that rigidity, and probably good for them as well because they learn a little bit the other way that you can. So I think at the start they might be like, "Oh, we need this," and I'll be like, "No, don't worry about it." And that probably happened. But I think as and to their credit, they've been very good at lately of just being like,
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, that's good. Great. Awesome. Like, as opposed to, where's this? Where's this? Where's this?
It's funny because Tim will message us something. We'll be like, yeah, that's great. And then Chelsea and I will turn to each other and be like, we'll just like debrief between us. And then we're like, yeah, fantastic.
I can read between the lines of the text messages. But I'm like, that's awesome for me and my mindset that they're willing to, compromise heavily is just been the best in the last month, because this last month of like my life and theirs as well has just been like not a moment to think, to decompress, I suppose. Everything, like, and I've lived and breathed this for a long time now, but nothing like this last month has been. And the thing that's fallen by the wayside is probably the training, because I haven't had the time nor the mind space, which I don't think is a big problem. I've got 433 days to train. But yeah, that's that difference in how we think has been an issue. But I actually think it'll be an enormous strength when we hit the road, because I'll be out running and these girls they'll be logistically on it and they'll be on it. Where I think it'd be a bigger issue if it was the other way around. Yeah. Whereas, because I want to finish the run and know exactly what I'm eating, where I'm staying. Whereas I think it was the other way around.
It wouldn't get done.
It would be done just at the very last minute. But it would, so I'd be a little bit more panicked. But knowing these girls will have that rigidity and logistics organised makes it far more comfortable, which means all I have to do is just go out there whistling Dixie and run for as long as I can.
I was hoping you'd finish that sentence.
Yeah, that could have gone one or two ways. So I also find that interesting, that out of all the things that, I was pondering, that's your largest concern is
my concern
please.
My concern's a little bit different. My concern is driving an RV on the wrong side of the road through the United States. I'm not overly familiar with driving a large car in the first place, let alone on the opposite side of the road.
Do you need a special license for that?
Maybe.
Yeah, well, no one said anything, so she'll be right. She'll be right. She'll be right. We'll worry about that we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
And
That's
Chelsea,
a future problem.
Yeah, that is future Chelsea.
Chelsea
problem.
doesn't know this yet, but she'll be driving in the USA.
And I'll be making sure that happens. If you've ever seen Liz drive, if you see Liz on the road, get yourself off it.
I've just got my little Hyundai i20 that I'm very comfortable driving. Put me in anything bigger than that, and I'm just like, where do I go?
Yeah.
You'll be all about that RV life by the time you get back. You'll be like, you got the big rig.
I'll be all over it.
Got to be doing the tooting that people going past. I reckon you'll love it.
And obviously,
We'll see.
That'll be fine.
We've got
and we've got a lot of insurance.
We've got insurance.
And we're not, one thing is that it's not like we're driving 400 or 500 Ks a day. Like I've got to go 63, 65 K. So at most, I reckon we'd be driving maybe 100 kilometers a day if they want to go in. Because we want to capture as much as we can in the content place, but I also want to make sure that we see, like, it's not just the content capture of me, but go around to the local, like, show off the world. We've become, so cocooned because of COVID and not being able to travel that I want us to, get moving again, open the world up. And this will be why not us doing that?
It's one way to do it.
Yeah. And and back to the fear, my biggest concern obviously is my body and my mind holding up. But the mind I'm more comfortable with, but the body's just such an unknown. So that's
got you covered.
Yeah. So these guys, obviously we're doing everything we can to make sure that my body's okay and recovered.
And you've obviously worked through a daily routine. I have to assume that you've got a plan of how you're going to manage, Tim's daily existence and help him to get enough rest and recuperation. What does that look like? How do you even do this?
Well, to be fair, we probably don't know that yet.
No.
Because I don't know. Like the only time I've run a few 65K days just here in Brisbane, but that's easy. I go back to my own bed, and sleep in my own bed, feet up. So it's not going to change a lot. And what I want to do is not change it a lot, just depending on how I feel. So, well, I'll just have a really light breakfast, if anything at all, before I start. Just a quick coffee, and then away I go. And then I'll stop and take on some food and keep going. I'll try and knock over as much of the day's run before, say, 12 o'clock as I can. And then we'll either eat, rest and go again, or I'll just keep going depending on how I feel. But every day is going to be different because the terrain will be different. So again, this is where it comes to that. I don't want to lock any plan in, because once I change it, then I feel like that creates more mayhem. Where if we just go, okay, to start today, let's aim for 4 16K runs. So every 90 minutes we'll catch up. And you guys go and do whatever you want, what we need to do, cooking, cleaning, booking accommodation, whatever. Go to head to the next town, see if the media guys are there waiting for us, go and try and hook up a free meal at the local cafe. But that sort of stuff. And because, I could do 4 16s, 230s, whatever. So I don't want to, it'll just a day by day. And I think that'll keep us concentrating as well, as opposed to, all right, see ya, and then we get complacent and think that's when I think things will go wrong. But if we're on it every day, mapping, knowing exactly where I'm going to be, I think that's the way I think we'll approach it.
Well, we'll try and map it out the day before, like from where we stop, because obviously you have to start from where we stop. So we'll probably, after the last leg, while you're maybe napping or
doing whatever you want
to do, we'll be maybe going for a drive to see what route's going to be the easiest for Tim to run.
Check what the weather's doing.
Yeah, the terrain, just all those sort of logistical things.
I think our day-to-day will be quite regimented as much as we can in terms of getting things done and having a nice schedule down pat, whereas Tim's will be a bit more flexible.
Yeah. And Tim, how many hours does it take you, generally? Have you got a ballpark number to smash out that 60 odd K?
Yeah. So the plan is I don't want to be moving from when I take my first step to my last step for any more than 10 hours a day. So I want to run the time in about 6.5 to 7 hours. So on that 6-minute K pace is where I want to be sitting. But then obviously there'll be periods where I'll walk as I'm consuming food, or just walking because it's up a hill and it's just a bit easier. But yeah, no more that I don't want to be moving more than 10 hours a day.
I don't think I've ever moved for 10 hours a day. I
was struggling at 6 hours.
Yeah.
And again, I wouldn't consider myself sedentary. I've been up and been to the gym and done all my things, but there's such a divide, and I think this is part of the fascination, and I think this is where people will, really latch onto your story and what you're doing. I mean, the feat of human endurance here is unlike anything I've heard for quite some time.
Yeah.
Because, it's not just, it's impressive just to smash out 65K, I'll be honest with you. I think about people I know who go and do a marathon and, train for 6 months, and then they're so bloody proud of themselves to do that one time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're doing more than one of those every day. And it's the duration that gets me. The fact that, at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and, obviously it'll have excitement and things going on through it as well. But there's just there's something just wild about all of this. Do you have a strategy in place for what you're going to do through those middle months, like, you know, where, you know, the excitement's sort of worn off, you're deep in the grind, and all three of you are looking at each other going, what have we done? Is that something you've sort of thought and talked about?
Well, probably not as a group. I don't think we've talked about that, but
It's a good time.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
well
yeah.
for me, I mean, what a bloody privilege, you know, to be able to do it, to have the finance to be able to do it, to have the body that can even allow me to start, you know. So what I have worked through is when I'm out there, even on long training days, when I'm feeling crappy, that I just take a step back and go, what a bloody privilege, you know, like, and really heavy into the why. Like, I want to do this because it's a feat of human endurance. Selfishly, it's, you know, there's my ego pushing me to let's see how far I can go. I want to push myself to my limit and find that out. I talk a lot about like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's where magic happens. Well, shit, if I can't find it here, I probably won't ever find it. So let's push that from an internal perspective. That's what I quite enjoy, really being uncomfortable. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then, like, I'm really, really lucky to link with a few charity partners. So that keeps me driving as well. And then for these two sitting to my right as well, is like, they've given up and sacrificed so much. And not only them, but their families, my families, our friends that we've just upped and left. And I've missed things because of this, that I've got to give it all back to them, you know. And for me, succeeding is me paying them all back, and all my partners and sponsors, you know, that's for me, it's really easy to it's transcended just me and my adventure to a big group of people that are right behind me and so supportive that I don't want to let anyone down.
It's a pretty bloody good place to start from. And that's a lovely thing to remember. And, you know, as you sort of talk about some of these organizations and you talk about this why, because I've, you know, again, in my research, I've come across, you know, you're all about the big, hairy, audacious goal. You're all about, you know, finding your why. And that's a big part of this adventure, is sharing that story and obviously trying to encourage people. Because, you know, if I understand this correctly, it's to go, I am just a bloke that, you know, found myself a bit chonky and went, mate, I'll just start, you know, one foot in front of the other. And before you know it, you can probably take on something a bit bigger. And I think there's a wonderful message in that. You know, I'd love for you to share about how, you know, how that's become such a big part of what you do.
Yeah, well, where do I start there? I mean, yeah, I was unfit and unhealthy, and I started to move, and I say this, and I've got a little video, and every single one of my friends has mocked me, where is running like saved my life, and then running became my life, and that's really true in that it gave me a purpose. It gave me a focus. Physically, yeah, hugely beneficial, mentally beneficial, emotionally beneficial, gave me something to push to, something that I just found a passion in it. I found a passion in how hard it was, but how rewarding it was. Similar to like when we were at the gym together, and that effort you put through, and then you succeed and you finish and you're like, how good was that? I can't wait to push myself again. And that can be in anything. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be in any goal that one sets themselves to, like, keep working at it, be consistent over time, and get to the end. So I guess I started one day, and you're right. Like, I tell the story of my very first ever triathlon that I entered, and there were 78 participants, and I finished 75th, and I think 2 or 3 didn't finish. It meant that I came second last across the line. So you don't have to be the best. You've just got to want to be better than what you were yesterday. You know, by no means do you have to be at the top of the tree to try anything or achieve anything, because the only person I'm ever competing against, save for the world record, which is a relative phenomena, but I'm only doing this for me, to challenge me. And if that, you know, if I succeed in other ways around there, but the biggest success for me is people coming and joining the three of us to run, and meeting, like, we're going to meet the most amazing people and see the most amazing things as well. Like, and so people come with me and tell me their journey. I want people to come and join in. I want to build that. And like Liz said earlier about being the class clown, is that I like to bring everyone in and be really, like, sometimes probably overly familiar with people, but I like to get familiar and build relationships. I'm a really relationship guy. I like to meet and greet and just hear people's and listen to people's stories. So that's another driver. And I want everyone to do that. Like everyone, like always, another thing I always say, I seemingly say a lot of things, but is that
No, you do.
if you could bottle that feeling of succeeding or completing something that you've set out to do, and you could sell that, you'd be the richest person on the planet. Because there's no better feeling than when you set out to do something and you achieve it, then that euphoric, feeling is just, I don't care what it is, just, and then commit to starting and you can't really lose.
Well, Chelsea and Liz, because you've been hanging around with Tim so long and you've been listening to these Timisms, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal? Do you have one each or do you have a combined one?
I think our first one would be to survive and not kill each other. I mean, number one.
Fair.
I feel like we could all agree on that. I have said, I think this was a bit silly of me. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. But I have said to Tim that I will run the first 5Ks with him every Saturday that we are away.
Nice. You'll be sick of being in the car, so actually it'll probably be quite nice.
I think so. I think 5Ks is doable.
I like
Right?
that.
Yeah. So that's my goal for while we're away. Start small.
Sweet place to do your running interview too.
Yeah. See how Tim's going.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Yep.
Liz?
For the trip. That's a hard question.
Mate, I want yours, not just the trip.
Yeah.
This is about you.
Liz wants to do 10 chin-ups unassisted.
Yeah.
9 this morning.
No.
So
Almost there, baby.
we're almost there.
What a unit.
That's such a tough question. I don't know. One of our charity partners is the Lung Foundation of Australia, which is Tim has very generously got them on board because it means something to me. I lost my mother to lung cancer. So I guess one of my big goals for my life is to, I don't know, I would like to change the lives of people with lung cancer, whether that's like just by raising awareness, getting rid of the stigma, raising money. I want to continue doing that, and I want lung cancer research to get to a stage where, people don't have to suffer like my mum did. I know this has taken like a really serious turn, but yeah, I think that's probably one of my big goals. And I think also just to make this trip the most amazing trip for all of us. Because I think, just mean a lot.
I'll add to Liz's thing as well. Like that's one of the reasons why, I've been lucky to have 3 charity partners, and one is the Lung Foundation of Australia, because of Liz's story and Liz's, selflessness in helping. I mean, again, she undersells herself, raising $200,000 just on her own for Lung Foundation Australia, which is massive. And my big, hairy, audacious goal for these two and myself probably as well is this run becomes our lifestyle and becomes how we potentially make a living moving forward. We don't, the last thing I want us to do is like land back in Brizzy, break the record, a heap of cheering and hoo-haring along the way, and then go back to lives as they were. I want people to see that, life can be so much more and open and that we get back here. And, it's not a little bit of ego again, but it's not that we're celebrities, but it's that you can achieve cool stuff if you have the courage to start. And if the 3 of us who would the most not normal, but just regular. No, I think we can speak for the 3 of us. Just regular folk can at least attempt cool stuff, you know, and that's what I want to happen, and then grow from there. And we go and push it to, you know, young people and kids. Kids get such a rough end of the pineapple now about how life's so easy for them and they don't work hard, and you know, some of it potentially true, but I think they get, you know, a bit stiff. So just to show them, yeah, let's try it when you're young, because you don't have to worry about failing. Failing's not giving it a crack, sort of thing. So.
Well, I think we've already figured out half of this. I mean, obviously, we've got your speaking tour on the other side of this. We've got Tim's book of sayings. You know,
I'm going to add the pineapple.
Yeah,
Mate,
the pineapple one. We'll have to rewind that
Pointy
and
end of
figure
the
out pointy end of the pineapple.
Yeah.
Like you've,
Rough end of the pineapple.
rough end of the pineapple.
You don't want that end.
Mate, I don't want either end of the pineapple. Have you looked at a pineapple?
Yeah, I don't think there's they're both
Well,
rough.
no,
good
that's
end of
pretty
pineapple.
bad. I don't care which end you attack it from. But look, and thank you for sharing, because obviously that, you know, that's a hell of a thing for you to be sharing with us this morning as well. You know, when we sit here and ask you about your why, and it has all been, you know, pretty cheery. But there's, you know, we've all got our struggles and things that we, you know, battle with. And I think that it is also a lovely chance, you know, for people to share those as well, because, you know, I'm confident you guys are going to have some, you know, vulnerability on your way. And it's lovely to share that as well, that, you know, you haven't just built up a superhuman persona, which I must say, Tim, you do wear quite well.
Yeah, on the outside, but yeah, there's a lot of trepidation on the inside. But I think confidence breeds confidence as well. So if I'm not confident that I can do it, like the people coming with me aren't going to have that confidence as well. So behind closed doors, I am shitting myself. That is absolutely the truth. But I've done the work. You know, I've set the plan. I've got the best people in my corner.
And the doing the work thing, I did also want to ask about that. How long have you actually been training for this? When did you wake up and go, oh, how did you even find this? How did you even see some dude ran around the world in 434 days?
Well, that's how it all started back in 2017. I was competing my first ever ultra marathon. So I'd never done anything like it. And it was a semi-supported event. So I had to carry everything that I needed.
And sorry, an ultra marathon for, like, you know, regular chonkers like myself. Mate, what's an ultra marathon?
So an ultra marathon is defined as an official race, anything longer than a marathon being the 42.195 kilometers. So you see a lot of ones around Southeast Queensland that are, you know, 60, 100, 160. They call it the miler. So it's 100 miles. They're like the day, or they take up to 2 days to finish. The stuff that I race is the multi-day. So you get sort of plonked in, not normally nice locations, usually desert and arid and hot and gross and like rainforesty type scenarios. And you've got, say, 300, anywhere from sort of 250 to 500 kilometers to cover in 7 days. And you've got to carry everything that you need. So all your own food, all your sleeping. The only thing that you get is like a marquee to sleep under. Sometimes it's a tent, sometimes it doesn't have walls. And then you get water, but you're rationed water, so you can't just use it willy-nilly. You get a certain number of liters each day, and once that's gone, that's it. You can't use any more of it. So that's how I got into it, and that was my first one. The first time, and I talk about being a fish out of water in the Simpson Desert. I was nowhere. I didn't have a clue what I was getting myself into. But on the plane out there, one of those ones that usually falls out of the sky, we're on one of those things. And I was sitting next to a guy reading a book, and he was doing the race and he was reading this book. And this book was written by a gentleman by the name of Tom Dennis, who was from Sydney. And in 2013, he was the first person ever to run around the world officially, according to what is now the official records. And I was like, Tom Dennis, I know that name, because I read the race list. And I'm like, I swear he's doing this race. And next minute, from the toilet came this guy and sat behind us. And it was Tom, sitting behind us on the plane next to a guy. I was sitting next to a guy reading his book. So that was 2017. So that I just spoke to Tom throughout the week, and I was like, mate, I've got to do this. And he's like, absolutely, I'll help you where I can. So I just kept talking to him over the next couple of years, and then it just evolved from there. And I just haven't I haven't stopped running. Again, I talk consistency. I've just been consistent over a long period of time. I've put in some extra miles in the last sort of 6 to 8 months, but it's just I'm relying on the consistency over time and the actual event to get fit. You know, my body, I know that the first 4 to 6 weeks of everything I've read about, you know, ultra tests is that the first 4 to 6 weeks are putrid. Your body just adapts, your body's injured, your body's in pain, your body's screaming at you to stop. But if you get through that, then it just goes, Tim, all right, you're waking up today, you know what you got to do. Go at it. So
we'll remind you of that too, don't worry.
yeah, well, and that's right though. And that's exactly right. Like if I'm out there on my own, it's easy to say, I'll just sleep today. But with these guys in my corner saying, you got to get going.
Because have I read this correctly that you're going to have like your total rest days is like 17?
It'd be about that. So I'm hoping it might be more. Again, that's the plan, but the plan may change. I've been doing some more thinking lately about, is a rest day actually the best thing for me to take a complete rest? How will my body respond? Will my body just seize up? Am I better off doing 2 lighter days than having a complete day off? But yeah, so about a rest day, how we've tried to plan it out is a rest day every fortnight. And that is including travel days as well. So we've got to be really smart with the times, like booking times that we travel. Lucky we're heading east, so time sort of works in our favor, especially going over the date line to start with. We make a day up. And although that sounds so, you know, insignificant when you're trying to cover so many Ks so quickly, that every day actually matters.
Because where are the parameters for this? I mean, is this like a Guinness World Record? I'm trying to think of where do they maintain the world? Because I mean, look, the only experience I have in world record, you might have walked past our Sega Rally machine. My brother is actually number 2 in the world.
Really?
So working towards the number 1. So that is
Wow.
that is all our experience in world records is on a 1997 version of Sega Rally 2 arcade.
Still counts.
And, you know, look,
Wow,
again, and there's very serious protocol of how that has to be run.
Yep.
I assume that there's some protocol that you guys have to meet to stay within, you know, within the bounds of what constitutes a record. Where is that held?
So the governing body is called the World Runners Association. And they're based in Canberra, which is really fortuitous. You know, it's just a phone call. And Tom is actually so anyone that completes the run is a member of the association. So it's a very small group of people, but Tom is on there. So Tom's been giving feedback to me. So there are rules. So I mean, the rules are the minimum distance to cover is 26,232 kilometers. You have to pass every line of longitude in one direction. So we're heading east. You have to run on a minimum of 4 continents. And for a continent to count, you have to run a minimum of 3,000 kilometers on that continent. And you have to start from within 1 kilometer of the ocean on one side and finish 1 kilometer of the ocean or major water inlet on the other side. You have to, and you have to start every day exactly the same place where you finished the day before. So you can't, for instance, finish, say, 10 Ks out of a town, drive into the town, and then keep going from that town. You have to drive back to where you finished. And that's where the logistics becomes even more challenging, because I don't want to run any more than 26,232 kilometers. I want it to be my 26,000. Oh, and the other one is you have to start and finish in this exact same place to hit that. So that's the loop. So South Bank, Brisbane will be the start and the finish line. So I want that to be my 26,232nd kilometer. Like I don't want to have to run like an extra day to get home. So that's where the logistics come in. And that's when plotting the route is simple, because you're just looking for Ks early, but at the back end, you might either be looking for the fastest way, or if things have changed throughout the run, you've got to add distance. So that's why we're finishing with Australia, because it's the known out of everything. So we can add and subtract where we need to. At the moment, we're hitting every capital city in Australia on the way home, just for a laugh. But if there's a part of me that as I'm thinking,
the laugh.
is that I'd rather not. Like, I'd rather we'd done enough Ks and we can just crow fly it
Straight.
Straight to Brizzy.
straight to Brizzy. But it's also going to be summer and we have to run across the Nullarbor. So
I know. I'm like, you guys just
I'm
don't
not,
like
I'm
to
not sure who thought about this because I don't think it was Tim.
Because I was looking at the map and I'm like, okay, so you're coming in Western Australia, you just get a bang through there. I'm like, not sure if you've driven that before or like been through there.
No.
It's yeah,
I mean, I don't have to run, so I think
Desolate?
we'll be fine.
yeah,
I think it'll be Tim.
and it's
But
not
that's
the
the challenge.
Mm.
He'll be right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
should
that's
be-
why, and that's
should
why
be
I'm
right.
yeah. That's why only
Should be
5
right.
people have done it, I suppose.
so 5 people is the total number that have ever even attempted. Or
Well, I don't know. I don't know
or-
attempted. I don't know
This
the
is
numbers on it.
completed.
This is completed. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, my head's hurting.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, mate,
It's a lot of logistics, and you
Yeah.
don't want, from our perspective,
Mm.
we don't want to do all the logistics while Tim's running,
Yeah.
and then him finish it and say, "Oh, well, actually, at this point, you missed this."
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of pressure.
We're going back out to long reach.
Yeah. By the way, we've got to go back to Europe.
Yeah.
We missed
You
that.
missed a spot.
You actually started 3 steps short. Yeah,
Exactly.
in the middle
Exactly.
of Cambodia. We're just going to zip back
Yeah.
and run that little piece.
Just have to do 10K loops around South Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
finish.
run and run and run.
And so you guys have to track that. Is there a way? Like, do you GPS it or do you diarize it? How do you?
So both all they want is to us to track it as many possible ways as we can. So
Yeah.
we'll have GPX files through our GPS trackers, and then we just write down the GPS coordinates each morning. So luckily, with all the technology and phones and watches and stuff now, that's quite easy. We'll just take a screenshot of the GPS coordinates at the start of each day, at the end of each day, and just marry them up as long as well as the GPX files, simply because there's obviously a fair few, not doubters, but potential, like the more information I can give to show, look, this is my heart rate. My heart rate's not 80 beats a minute. I'm not sitting in the back of the van whilst we're driving along at 10 Ks an hour. And while that might be bloody tempting at some stages, like I want to be clear that like it's transparent. That's why I want people to come and run with me to see that, hey, shit, he is running every day. This is not a joke. He is hurting.
And we'll
but
get
he's
that
getting
footage
through.
too, don't you worry.
And that, yeah, and
We'll
that
have you back.
footage. Yeah, exactly right. Like, yeah, no doubt. When I'm at my absolute
Especially on the
lowest, these
bad
guys will
days.
be there with the camera.
like, Tim, tell
We've
us
been told to
something.
capture the tears.
The
Yeah.
tears. No, I want you to ask Tim to tell you something inspirational, like while he's just broken.
Maybe something about the pineapple.
Tell me the pineapple story,
Yeah.
Tim.
Take it out is what I'll be saying.
Oh, God.
Tim, come on. It's
Oh.
only 10 a.m. 9 a.m.
Seriously, who's doing your PR training?
Yeah,
That's all
What
right.
PR
As I said,
training?
when you're on Jimmy Fallon, do me a favor and take a pineapple
Oh.
as a,
As a gift.
as a gift and go, don't sit on the wrong end. Now, I'm conscious of your time. I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but there's a few things I do want to cover off. So, in terms of your start, you're kicking this off at South Bank because if people want to come, I mean, this is a big part of it. If they want to come and run alongside you, come and cheer, bring the kids along, give you a high five, how can we do that?
Yeah, so next Saturday, the 3rd of December, is kickoff day. Again, the whole premise is I want to get people moving, people active in a community setting, and I don't think there's much better way to do that than the park run. So that's why South Bank Park Run. I'd love everyone, friends, family, friends of family, to come down. 7 a.m. Will be the official start of the run, and yeah, we'll complete the 5-kilometer circuit around the South Bank Park Run, and then I'll keep going. But yeah, that's where I want everyone to come down. There's a record. I'd love to break the record for Australia's biggest park run, if not the world's biggest park run.
It's a pretty big park run. They'll be like, no, mate, it's finished. And you're like, yeah, see ya. So we can come down and do that. Now, the other part about this, and we were chatting about this before we sort of jumped on it. This doesn't happen, through magic beans and good luck. You've obviously got some wonderful corporate partners. And, you know, this is an adventure that, you know, is at this point only partially funded. You know, you've got enough to keep you out of trouble for a little while. I think that this is sensational. And I was going to tell you, I'm going to chuck in a few dollary dues for you as well, because I'm blown away by this whole exercise. And mate, if I can help you run for another couple of days, then I think that's wicked. And if there are other people out there that go, this bloke's a legend, these two are like even bigger legends, to keep this man. Absolutely. I mean, mate, you got to know where the real powerhouse is. How can people support you?
Yeah, so two ways. Well, the easiest way is if they jump on my social media at Timmy R. Franklin on Instagram. There's a link there, and that's just a GoFundMe page, and they can make a donation through there. Or if they want to get in contact about a corporate partnership, then please do so through my webpage, which is timrunstheworld.com, or just DM again through the social mediums, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, that's it. You're going to have a little thing there that says, I'm just running 63 kilometers, but I'll get back to you.
Yeah, my out of office.
Yeah. And then the other thing that we had to announce is obviously it's not just your socials, but your pit crew now has some socials.
We do.
Pit crew, how can we follow you guys?
So we have created a Instagram page called This Is How We Crew It. And basically,
Don't laugh, Tim.
basically
on it.
it'll just be all the behind the scenes footage of how we're preparing for the trip and just all the stuff that you're not going to see on Tim's main page.
Mm-hmm.
All the emotion, the trials, the carpool karaoke.
The funny conversations that get a bit weird. That's okay.
The pineapples.
No doubt the mocking
pineapples.
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
A bit more of the real life behind the scenes of how we're actually traveling, I guess.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think it will be very hard for you, Tim, to document on top. I'm confident you'll find a way. But, you know, in terms of like that media creation as well, you know, they're certainly going to be your right hand in, you know, documenting that journey for you. And I assume updating, you know, helping to update your socials and all that sort of stuff as well. So this is how we crew it.
Yep.
Have you got a song for that yet? Have you got that?
I don't know if you would believe it, but it goes, this is how we grew it.
Oh my goodness!
Yes,
we got it.
I was really hoping because it felt like, you know, if you ever went to the R&B room at Fridays, like it, you know, I'm imagining. That's where I think this is going to go. That's your theme song. Now, is there anything specifically that you guys are looking for that you need, like aside from good old fashioned dollary dues? Is there anything that you guys need on your world travels? Anything that you need to help kick this journey along?
Well, that's a really good question, and the answer is yes. I mean, any electronics that can help us capture all the adventures would be unreal. I think if there's anyone with any contacts to say food companies or corporations that are global that can assist us in, you know, in providing food. Anything else, ladies? Is there
Accommodation partners?
Yeah, accommodation partners. Absolutely. That's a great one. Again, globally, but even households that will open up their house to us. And then the big one is an apparel. Anyone out there that know, you know, Phil Knight or someone, or Mr. Lululemon or
Mrs.
Lululemon, the Lululemons.
Yeah.
That may point us in the right direction. That would to be willing to, you know, jump on what I think is pretty cool sort of adventure.
A fuel company would probably help too.
A fuel company, yeah, absolutely. Fuel company, global RV group, Jayco Caravans, great people at Jayco Caravans if they're listening. I mean, whoever, and just mum and dads as well. Like
just reach out.
Just reach out.
If the story resonates with you and you want to help, because that's like, I'm only meeting you guys for the first time today, and it feels like you're hanging out with people that you've known forever. Like there is a vibe here that is just sensational. And, you know, I've got to say that because I think it's really wonderful. Like what you guys are doing is obviously crazy, but it's, you know, it's a real credit to the type of humans that you are, that this is very selfless, that, you know, you guys are giving yourself to this and to this project and to each other, you know, in a, you know, a trust and a bond. And, you know, this is going to be truly an adventure of a lifetime. And, you know, this will be something that you'll look back on because, you know, we're at that early stage now and, you know, there's a lot to come. But, you know, this is something you'll look back on for the rest of your lives. This is very special.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the drivers as well, isn't it? Like, obviously, yeah, I've gone all in, you know, financially, physically, emotionally into this process. But I quite often catch myself thinking like, if I make sort of 80, that like I've got like a grandchild on my knee and I'm telling them, well, they're asking me questions about that time that grandpa ran around the world, like just talking about it, like just this one time. And I can't wait for that sort of stuff.
And look, on that bloody wonderful note, I'd like to wrap this up. I would like to say thank you, Chelsea, Liz, Tim. I'm so grateful that you guys could come and spend some time with us this morning and share a little bit about your journey and a little bit about what you're going to do, so we can support you, so we can jump on timrunstheworld.com, Timmy R. Franklin on Instagram. This is how we crew it. And again, I'll put links to all of these so that people can jump on and follow the adventure. But I also asked you off here, just in case you dogged me and said absolutely not. They went, who is this guy? That, you know, I'd love to check in with you guys while you're out on the road. So I'll be talking to this as well. This is how we crew it. To get in front of you, because I'd love to stay in touch with you through this journey and just, you know, find out how the whole thing's traveling.
See if we're still friends and
see if you're all still friends or whether you now have 3 cars. And you're like, oh God.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I'd love to follow this journey. We've got, you know, year and a bit.
Yep.
It's all happening.
I think this is just awesome. Well, guys, thank you. I'm going to wrap it up here. So Tim runs the world. Wow. These guys out of control. Hey, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.